I am this 10-year-old boy. I'm in grade 5. It's 9 a.m. I'm sitting in the classroom. It's science class. I'm already anxious. At 10, the bell rang and there was a sigh of relief. One period gone, four more to go. 11 o'clock, second bell rang. Deeper sigh of relief. Two periods gone, three more to go. It was a social studies class. I asked a question, and the teacher said, "It's a very silly question." She got very furious and she said, "Please don't ask questions, just listen." I remember pencil was the only tool I used mostly at school. Another day at school, I did not do my homework. And the teacher asked me to spread my hand. She said, "Turn." She took a wooden ruler and bam! My hands still shiver. March came and exams came. A month before exams, it was terror, fear of failing exams, fear of forgetting hall ticket, because memory was not my strong suit. I could not remember, I could not reproduce. And when I failed to do that, both at school and at home gave me a very interesting tag. Tu ghada hai, you are a donkey. And the interesting part was, I started to believe because I did not have any other metric to prove otherwise. But I remember I had ideas. I had ideas to build, ideas to create, but no one was interested in my ideas. And slowly, the ideas stopped and thinking stopped. But parallelly, something interesting was happening in the evening hours. We had a family kirana shop, and I would stand behind the counter for a couple of hours every day, and I was pretty good there. I could make bills, I could deal with cash, I was dealing with vendors, I could do speed arithmetic. So while the school said I'm incapable, the real world said I'm capable. And as I grew, during my MBA, five of us built a website and sold it at 7x valuation. Now, that changed something for me. I started to reflect and I said, there's nothing wrong with me. All this while, I was measured by a broken yardstick. And I started to reflect on why should schooling be so dark and negative? Can I do something to save, protect every single child in the country who's not good at memory? By the way, 80% of children, for them, memory is not their strong suit. So I was seeing what can I do to save these 80% of children not to go through that trauma, not to damage their self-image, because that is what system would do if you're not good at memory. And I became passionate. I started reading every possible educational pedagogy, and luckily I got to know about Montessori pedagogy. I started to find most of the answers to my questions in Montessori, and I went ahead and did my training. I have completed all four AMI Montessori certifications, and I happen to be the first one in the world to have all four AMI certifications. Now, the interesting part is that child who was treated like a gada, a donkey at school, how did I do this? Because Montessori training, they were not testing my memory. They were only looking at my ability to think. And that's what led to what I accomplished. And I started to look at what's happening with schooling today. Look at the classroom in 1900 and look at the classroom in 2026. What has changed? Nothing much. Same desk, same rows, same children sitting passively. Children who are born today, guess which year will they get into any profession? 2050. And we are using the 1900 model, which was designed for industrial revolution, which was designed for a whole different era with a whole different purpose. It was never designed to create innovators. And in 2026, preparing children for 2050, we are still using the same classroom. If we want to prepare our children for 2050 and beyond, we got to nurture their innovative mindset and innovative skill set. And to do that, we prepared a lot of interesting environments. We removed the classroom and built a lot of interesting environments. This is a 3 to 6 Montessori classroom where children are introduced to a lot of practical life tools as early as 3. And by the time they are 6, they have so much of freedom to explore, experiment, and they learn everything with their hands and senses. At 6, hands are not just happy to work with material and learn. At 6, hands want a new challenge. Hands want to create. Hands want to build. So we stopped asking, what did you learn today, which our schooling system asks. This is the question asked to every child today. What did you learn today? We replaced that question with, what do you want to build today? An innovation lab where children are offered hundreds of tools. Any thought or idea they have, they can convert that into a real model, prototype, anything they want to build. We believe that children are not just capable of learning, but along with learning, they're capable of designing, creating, constructing, innovating, and inventing. With that belief, they were introduced to loads of interesting activities. One day, I offered a simple pair of scissors and asked children, is it designed for left-handed, right-handed, or both? It did not take more than few seconds for children to figure out that it's designed for right-handed. And what was unexpected was they started looking at everything in the environment. They looked at a sharpener. Is it designed for right-handed, left-handed, or both? Tap, door, left-handed, right-handed, or both? And what they realized is majority of the things are designed by right-handed people for right-handed people. And a child brought a ruler and said the centimeter side, it's designed for right-handed. For left-handed children, it's very challenging. She said, I'm going to go and build a ruler for a left-handed child. So she goes to the lab, makes a ruler, you can see in the picture. And seeing this, 16 other children went to the lab, made 16 rulers, and all 17 rulers were gifted to one left-handed child in the environment. She decided to fix the inequity. Innovation starts with empathy. Seeing children's ability to build, interest in creating, we designed a very interesting drone lab. Anything which flies fascinates human beings. Now, the fascination for children is 100x more. And in the drone lab, once they learn basics of how to build a drone, we asked our children one simple question. Imagine your drone can do anything which you want. What would you like to build? What kind of drone do you want to build? And that led to hundreds of interesting ideas and designs. There was a 9-year-old who designed a drone which was for medical safety for his grandfather who lives alone in the village where there's hardly any medical facility. There was another child, 8-year-old, who designed this very interesting, complex security drone. His mother works in a night shift, and this 8-year-old boy has been anxious about his mother's safety, and he built a safety drone which would follow his mother whenever she comes back from office. A lot of these designs were so amazing that we hired an intellectual property firm to see if any of these ideas are patentable. And in that research, we figured out there are 5 interesting ideas which were patentable. In the year 2020, we have applied for 5 patents in drone designs on behalf of our children. As they grew, they built a paper recycling machine. Now, if you see the machine, if they have used a cycle chain, a vacuum cleaner, and a lot of interesting things. Now, the machine works, but the interesting part is it produces 1 paper an hour. At first, they were disappointed, but they said, "Sir, this is phase one. We are going to build another machine which will produce 60 papers every hour." And as we speak, some of them are exploring and experimenting how to do that. Now, all this I'm talking about where children designed those drones, applied for patents at 10 and 12. When they came to high school, they started thinking much, much bigger, a lot more interesting ideas. And the craziest of them all was they said, "We want to build a real satellite and send it to space." I said, "Why not?" Now, I had no clue of what it will take for us to build a satellite and send it to space. But you remember what's our goal as educators? To provide the infrastructure and methodology where children can accomplish, build anything they want. So we collaborated with IIT Hyderabad design team and designed a space lab. We brought in the best of the experts. We tied up, collaborated with some experts who could help us build. Children kept building, kept failing, but nothing stopped. They came up with hundreds of ideas for satellite. But the most interesting for all, where they all agreed, was they wanted to build a satellite to check what's happening, what is there in the book, how true and real it is. All those scientific statistics on Earth and space, they wanted to check. So they brought in a lot of sensors, tested, sent those sensors in the air with the drones, and then they wanted to know what kind of data will these sensors show when they go to space. Now, building satellite is the easiest part, by the way. The real challenge was to collaborate with ISRO. ISRO has a wing called In Space, and the kind of technical specifications, every material has to be space grade, space ready, space grade testing. We kept testing, kept sending it for space grade tests. It kept failing, but nothing stopped our children. They finally built a satellite which was approved by ISRO just 10 days before the satellite was about to be launched. And as soon as media guys got to know, they wanted to interview our children. So we hired a space and we said only children will be there on the stage. Now, there were 2 reasons. We wanted children to have that exposure, but more than that, no single adult in our team could answer all the questions, but we knew children would be able to answer all the questions. So we said, yeah. So we said, no adults on the stage. You can see it was just children. And then came the day, 12th Jan 2026. Me and few of our students could get inside the Mission Control Center. You can see those 6 screens on the top. Each of those screens were showcasing different statistics of the rocket. For me, most of it was Greek and Latin. But the kind of questions our students had, they were interacting with the ISRO scientists sitting right next to them. And they all saw ISRO chairman sitting right in front of them and finally coordinating. And just before the launch, we were all outside the auditorium and the countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we could see the rocket coming out of nowhere. For a few seconds, We could not hear the voice. We could first see the rocket going up, and then suddenly there was thunder of sound. I could feel the vibration from the bottom to top. And we know in that moment, the life has changed for all the students who are part of this project. There are 260 million children in India right now in schools, and everyone is asking them the same question. Can you remember? Can you reproduce? Can you score? And there's a child sitting in a class right now who's waiting for the period to be done, waiting for the bell. And inside her, there is a satellite. Inside her, there's a patent. Inside her, there's an idea that can change the world. Thank you.